Hey gamers, Chris here. If you're a DM, do you have any rules for the players at your table? I do, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So, welcome to Treantmonk's Temple. So when it comes to rules for players at my table, I have 5 rules. And I think if you're a player and you follow these 5 rules, you will be a better player for it. Some of them are dead obvious, other ones maybe not quite as obvious, but I do think they're all equally important. So these are not in any particular order, but they are the order in which I normally think of them. And the first one is the DM is the arbiter of the rules. This is vital. Sometimes DMs make mistakes. Sometimes they don't know the rules or they remember a rule wrong. If you're a player and you want to inform them that they've made a mistake in the rules, that's fine. I appreciate that. If I'm a DM and I've made a mistake and a player reminds me what the rules are, I am good with that. But as a DM, I reserve the right to change those rules if I don't think it's appropriate at the time. There's certain times where the rules are a little vague. I may change the rules. I may ask for a role that isn't normal, or I might ignore a rule that might normally restrict what characters could do, those kinds of things. And I'll try to inform the players what's going on and why, but it is my prerogative to do so, and I expect no one to challenge me on that. Of course, D&D has a lot of rules that are vague. This is true of all role-playing. The reason is because when you have a game where players can do an infinite number of things, the rules simply can't cover it. So they create some general guidelines that a DM can follow. This is why we have a DM or a GM in role-playing games, to take these vague rules and then come up with something that will work for the particular situation and the story. Now, as a player, sometimes I see decisions the DM has made and I don't agree with them. Maybe they've taken a vague rule and they've interpreted it in a strange way, or even a rule I didn't think was vague and they interpreted it in a way I think was wrong. My job at that point is to keep my mouth shut. This is not my decision to make. This is the DM's decision to make. If the DM thinks a rule should be interpreted a certain way, then that's the way it's interpreted. Final. And they can change their mind later. That's fine too. And if they do that, then that is the way it's going to be. And it doesn't matter what your opinion is. If you're the DM, that's what you get to do. But when you're not the DM, that's why you have a DM, to take those vague rules and make a judgment call. As a player, you don't get to choose. That doesn't mean you can't share your opinion. If I'm a DM and a player tells me why they would interpret a certain rule a different way, I appreciate that. And I'll consider that. But if in the end I don't agree, I expect them to drop it. Now, DMs make mistakes, and sometimes you might not even catch those mistakes until later. But when you point them out, it is up to the DM to determine how or if there will be a correction to that mistake. If you don't like that, again, you need to drop it. You should never argue with a DM. If you argue with a DM, not only are you making the DM uncomfortable, you're making everyone at the table uncomfortable. It is selfish. If you strongly disagree with the DM's decision and you think it's something that might ruin your fun of the game, then this is what you should do. You should not say a word about it for the rest of the night. Put it aside. And if it ruins your fun for the night, then that's what it has to do. And then you need to sleep on it for at least one night. And then the next day, if it still seems that important to you, then bring it up to the DM outside of gameplay. This releases all the other players from having to witness your argument with the DM or your disagreement with the DM. And you can have this conversation over email, and then we can get out of this situation where a DM feels trapped by you. And they can choose whether to respond to you or even whether you deserve an invite to the next session. But as a DM, if I have a player who feels very, very strongly about something, I might be swayed by that. So if they bring that up to me outside of gameplay in a respectful manner, then I'll consider what they had to say, and then I have to make a decision. How important is it to me that I interpreted the rules that way? Do I think that there could be some kind of negative effect, interpreting the rules the way that player suggested? If so, I'll bring that up to them. We can have a reasonable conversation. And if we can't work anything out, then maybe we shouldn't be playing in the same group anymore, or at least in that campaign. But if we can, then we can resolve the issue outside of gameplay. We move into the next game. As a DM, I can explain the rules difference at the beginning of the next session if it requires an explanation at all. And then we can move on in a way that doesn't involve any of the other players. It doesn't make anyone else uncomfortable. So much better for me as a DM, so much better for all the other players. All you have to do is just keep it to yourself for that one evening and then bring it up to the DM the next day. If you have a fight with the DM, you've already ruined your night anyway. If you ever intimidate a DM into accepting your version of the rules, I never want to play with you. The second rule is we treat everyone at the table with decency. Obviously, any kind of bullying, discrimination, or put-downs at a table of another player is absolutely unacceptable for any reason at all. D&D is for everyone. I end my videos with this for a reason. To think that any player is made to feel uncomfortable by other players because they look wrong or they sound wrong, it is absolutely revolting. Sometimes the play styles of other players might rub us the wrong way at first, but if you think about it and you give it a chance, you're going to find that those different play styles can add to a game if you're open to them. Now, sometimes other players make tactical mistakes. Again, it's okay to tell a player what you think they might want to consider, and if they seem to appreciate that, you can repeat that behavior. If they don't, you need to stop. It is not your character to play. It is their character to play, and if they want advice, then that's one thing. But if they don't want advice, you need to keep your mouth shut. And yes, your character may be put in danger. Other players' characters may be put in danger. But this is a game. We should never make somebody feel uncomfortable for the purpose of a game. Characters sometimes die, and if you can't accept that, then maybe you should reevaluate why you play this game in the first place. The third rule is probably the least obvious rule of all, but very important, and that is have fun. This sounds obvious, but sometimes we're just not in the mood for fun. Sometimes we wake up and the day just sucks and we feel bad, and then it's time to role play, and one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to be able to put that aside and be excited to go play D&D, or you're not. And if you're not, and if you know you're going to go and you just know you're going to have a bad time, do everyone a favor and cancel. Tell them you just don't feel well. I would much rather have somebody cancel, even if it leaves me short, than have them show up and ruin the night for everyone. And it does. We don't always realize the effect that our mood has on the rest of the table. But if you're having a terrible time, trust me, everyone knows, and they can feel it, and it brings everybody down. Now, sometimes a campaign isn't fun for you. I've been in campaigns where it just didn't click for me. I just wasn't having fun. Maybe I felt like I was being railroaded, or maybe I felt like my actions didn't matter, or my character just didn't resonate with me, or maybe the campaign world didn't resonate with me, and I just went and I wasn't having a good time in that campaign. When that happens, it is actually best for you to just quit the campaign. It is less selfish for you to remove yourself from that campaign than to carry on and bring everyone else down with it. It's kind of a passive-aggressive sabotage of that campaign, and it's selfish behavior. Just don't do it. Rule number 4, never interfere with the fun of others. This should be obvious, but sometimes we have behaviors that we can tell are affecting the fun of others. And no matter what those behaviors are, no matter whether you think they should be something that affects them or not, as soon as you discover it, you need to stop or alter your behavior. Now me, I'm somebody who just naturally likes to get involved in role-playing. I like to have the spotlight. So for me, sometimes it's a challenge not to overwhelm that spotlight, not to obscure the other players. So that's something I constantly work on, and it's something I expect from my players as well. If there's somebody who's really hogging the limelight, I expect them to work to give every other player a chance to contribute and have fun. And sometimes you have players who really don't want the limelight. I know people who I play with who are just like that. They don't really want to be in the spotlight. They like to be support characters, and that's fine. But if somebody feels like they're actually being obscured by your behavior, you need to remind yourself that you're not the star of the table. All the players are the stars of the table, and you need to share that limelight. And here's where I'm going to talk about the difference between optimization and power gaming. Optimization is simply making a character that's effective. Power gaming is attempting to make a character that obscures the other characters by making them less relevant. I've spoken about this in my wizard guides, that once I made a character that was a fighter. It was a charged build. This is in 3.5, and it did so much damage that the other fighters in the group, their damage became irrelevant. So what I did is, after the first session, I retired that character. If I keep that character and just continue to hog the limelight, continue to make the other characters irrelevant, that is not optimization anymore. Now we are into power gaming. Optimization is simply being effective. This is why I like the God Wizard, because the God Wizard brings everyone else up. This is not power gaming. This is just making everyone more effective and keeping all the players and all the PCs in the limelight. And that's very important when we're talking about optimization, not to make other players feel like their characters are useless. Now, I have a job where I need to be on call, so I keep my cell phone at the table. And if I get a call from work or I get a message from work, then I have to take a break. Furthermore, I have family, I have a wife, I have a daughter. If they need me, I need to take a break. But I don't play on my cell phone when I'm role playing. That isn't just rude. What that does is it creates this disinterest, and then it is contagious. It just takes over the entire table, and soon no one cares. No one can really be engaged because you just have one player who's disengaged by doing rude behaviors like playing on their phone or their tablet rather than playing the game. These are the ones where the DM says, "What are you going to do?" And they go, "Can you remind me what's going on?" Yeah, because you weren't paying attention because you were playing your game. That is so rude. Don't do that. That makes this game less fun for everyone else. Do not interfere with the fun of the other players. And number 5, the final rule, don't cheat. I mean, duh, right? But seriously, don't do it. The thing about cheating is everybody knows. They do. Everybody. Everybody. Whenever a role is important and you always do very well, we all get it. The law of averages doesn't work that way. You're a cheater. We all know it. We all resent it. Even if we don't catch you, you're making this game less fun for us. For that matter, don't do any of the cheater style play either. Like when you roll the die and then you pick it up immediately and then you bring it right up to your eye and like, yeah, that's a 20. How do we know that's a 20? You didn't let us take a look at your roll. What's the point of rolling on a table if you're the only one who gets to see it? Or if you roll and you're behind a book or a screen and you roll well, did you really roll well? We don't know. When you make your die rolls, roll them in front of everyone. Everyone can see it. When you roll really well, it's actually nice to be able to share it with the group. Oh my God, I had disadvantage and I rolled 2 20s? Take a look at that. That's something that adds to everybody's fun. It's a memorable moment. When you're hiding your die rolls, obscuring your die rolls, maybe you're a cheater, maybe you're not. But one way or the other, you're making the game less fun. And finally, sometimes you catch somebody else cheating. Do you want to bring it up? I'd say no. Keep it to yourself. Play out the session, but if that player's a friend of yours, you need to bring it up to them outside of gameplay. I saw you yesterday. I saw you roll that Constitution save, and you rolled a 15, but I saw that you rolled a 2. Why are you cheating? And if you don't really know the player very well, then you need to talk to the DM and let them know. When they rolled that 15 on a Constitution save, I saw them. They rolled a 2. They're lying. They're cheating. And then the DM can decide what to do with it. But you need to make a decision that if it isn't something that's going to get fixed, is this really somebody you even want to play with? So that's my list. Those are my 5 rules that I insist that all players follow. We all slip up sometimes, and it's okay. Sometimes I steal the limelight, and then I catch myself and I feel bad about it and I try to do better. It's okay to occasionally make a mistake, but these are what we have to strive to do. Now I'm wondering what I've forgotten. Why don't you let me know in the comment section down below? You know I read the comments. let me know what rules you have at your table that make the game more fun for everyone. And I don't really have much more to say on this topic, so I'm going to sit back and relax, and I'm going to have some fun, because D&D is for everyone. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you next time.